Good morning. I am Kevin Price, talking to you about you and your business. Got a lot to talk about on today's program. Look forward to spending some time with our first guest. He kind of when I saw he was going to be on today, I told my producer we need to come up with some sci-fi music for this guy because he's doing some pretty interesting sort of sci-fi-esque sort of things. He works with NASA. He's in the technology sphere. And involved with robotics, which has always been an interesting subject to me. Dr. David Kortenkamp is on our program today, and Dr. Kortenkamp, welcome to the program. Tell us a little bit about the robotics challenge.
Well, thank you, Kevin. The Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency, DARPA, which is the U.S. military's research and development arm, has had a series of challenges for robotics. The first two involved autonomous vehicles. Those are very successful and have led to such technologies as are in the Google autonomous car and other autonomous vehicles. Their latest challenge is a humanoid robot, meaning a robot that looks very similar to people, and its challenge is to go into a disaster situation and be able to do a variety of tasks in that situation, such as removing rubble, turning valves, connecting hoses, climbing a ladder, those kinds of tasks. And this will take place at the end of December in Miami, Florida.
Okay. And I'm going to ask you kind of something of an esoteric, maybe even odd question, but I've seen articles that have compared the United States attitudes towards robotics with particularly the Asian countries like the South Koreans and the Japanese, which seem to have embraced it much quicker than we have. And they kind of attribute it to cultural, societal, and even entertainment attitudes towards robotics. What are your thoughts about that? Have you thought about that much?
I have, and I would agree. The Japanese and Korean cultures have really embraced robotics from an entertainment perspective as opposed to a getting work done perspective. They tend to build robots that look to mimic human activities and mimic even human appearances. Whereas here in the United States, we've seen more of a functional robotics in which the robots don't necessarily look like us. Robotic arms, the kinds of robots you see in the military now, which are basically just little moving on tracks and moving around. So we've tended to focus more on the functional as opposed to the appearance of the robots.
So has that made them more likely to grow in a place like Japan and South Korea in prominence than here in the United States?
Yes, I would agree, especially as far as them being in home situations or situations in which you encounter robotics every day. I would stress that the United States is a leader in a lot of areas of robotics, especially in the artificial intelligence and the programming the robots to do activities that they couldn't do previously. What
about the role of entertainment itself? For example, iRobot, for example, 2001 Space Odyssey, where the artificial intelligence is the bad guy.
Yes.
We see a lot of bad guy. My understanding is that in South Korea and Japan, they have a lot of entertainment where, and I don't know this, I don't sit around watching, I don't even know Japanese or South Korean, so I'm not sitting, Korean, the language, so I don't sit around watching these kind of movies or whatever, but even the entertainment itself is more pro-robot in Asian countries. Have you seen that or heard that?
I have heard that, and yes, our robots in Hollywood movies tend to be the bad guys with a few exceptions. And in those cultures, they tend to be probably more a companion or someone who's helpful to people.
Yeah, but the only movie I can recall where there's sympathetic characters in our country is artificial intelligence.
Yes.
And then in that movie, they're still creepy, even though sympathetic.
Yes.
So
yes.
Okay, back to stuff that matters. So how long has this project been in development with NASA?
Well, we're working. Our company's been working with NASA for the last 20 years on robotics, including a humanoid robot that's up on the space station right now, performing tasks. The activity for DARPA, which is using technology we developed with NASA but is separate from NASA, has been going on for since January of this year.
Okay, and what is the long-term development intention when it comes to these robots as it pertains to NASA?
It really is to put robots where it's very risky or dangerous to put humans, and the military has exactly the same philosophy. That's why you see NASA and the military being the prime funders of robotics activity in the United States, because they have tasks where it's it's very dangerous for people to be doing that. If you saw the movie Gravity, you see that extravehicular activities or spacewalks tend to be the most dangerous things that humans do in space. So building robots that could do some of that can take some of the danger, remove a little bit of the danger from those kinds of activities.
See, Doctor, when you talk that way, it makes me think of Terminator. See, my producer had Star Trek music going on in the background. We needed Terminator music going on in the background.
Well, DARPA has officially told us we're supposed to talk about the robots we're building for them, as these are supposed to be for disaster relief. So the idea is that go into maybe there's been a nuclear accident like the Fukushima accident, in which there weren't any robots that could do the kinds of tasks that needed to be done to save that equipment, and you couldn't send people in because it was just too dangerous. And so the idea is to build this next generation of robots that can go into a nuclear facility, into a chemical problem, into a biological area, and do the work that needs to be done with humans behind the lines supervising these robots, but not in harm's way.
See, now now you got me thinking about Iron Man. And when we no longer use this guy, he's going to be really mad at us. But, okay, so, yeah, everything I've learned about science, I must have gathered in middle school age, or at least a middle school age mentality. But that's pretty exciting, the idea of them going in to deal with some of those particular type of problems that you simply don't want humans exposed to.
That's right, and some of the tasks are not terribly complicated, but they do require human-like dexterity and manipulation abilities to go in, and they're just, they're turning a valve in a certain way or making a connection, electrical connection inside of those things that needs to be made. And it really requires a human type of robot that can do things that people are doing already. And
by the way, you guys are corporately located here in Houston, correct?
That's correct, yes, out in the Clear Lake area of Houston.
Of course, that only makes sense. All of the change, all the disruption that's gone on with the space program, how has that affected your work?
We're still doing fine, as you may, as I've been talking, we've been branching out into military type of work, and we're also starting to get into looking at oil and gas industry as also industries that need both robotics and kind of artificial intelligence control, because they face situations similar to NASA in the military, and there's places they don't want to send people. When accidents happen, then they may need to have a robot to get into those situations.
By the way, what do you have your doctorate in? I'm just curious.
Computer science and engineering.
Oh, okay. Very cool. Where'd you get it at?
University of Michigan.
Really? Big blue. A big blue guy. Okay. I'm a big blue guy, too, because I grew up in that area. But, yeah, absolutely. All right. Dr. David Kortenkamp, he's been with us here today and talking about track labs and also about the Robotics Challenge, which you can learn more about that at the roboticschallenge.org. Make sure you check that out. And thanks so much for being with us. A lot of fun. Thanks for tolerating my silliness, too.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
All right. When we come back, much more for you.
Game over, man. It's game over.
There you go. It's all over. No, just a segment. We'll be back for more right after this on The Price of Business.